Start.
A common note to all the participants. Participants, kindly mute yourselves because the event is about to start. Please maintain the decorum. Okay. We shouldn't live in a world where we live in constant terror. We need less dying and more living. We need less destroying and more building. We need less hate and more love. With this wonderful and powerful quote, I wish everyone a happy and a wonderful morning. I am Monisha Priyanka, Nippon Ranger from Southern Railway, and with me, Ms. Shweta Gayatri, Rashtrapati Guide from Tamil Nadu, will be the host today's event. A very warm welcome to the dignitaries, panelists, audiences who are witnessing this session on STV. Generally, 6 in 10 girls and women around the world will experience violence in their lifetime. Yet, there are only less action, poor data, limited investment to stop the violence. To eradicate this, World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts have initiated a global flagship campaign named STV in 2011. Many Girl Guides and Girl Scouts have been tackling violence against women and girls through advocacy, implementing education, raising awareness, doing community action, and research. Through this event, you'll come to know about the importance of STV campaign and its influence to women and girls around the society. Prayer. A day without prayer is a day without blessing, and a life without prayer is a life without power. So, I request everyone to rise up at their place for the Bharat Scouts and Guides prayer.
दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना, दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना, हमारे ज्ञान में आओ प्रभु, आँखों में बस जाओ, अंधेरे दिल में आकर के परम ज्योति जगा देना, बहा दो प्रेम की गंगा, दिलों में प्रेम का सागर, हमें आपस में मिलजुल कर प्रभु रहना सिखा देना, हमारा कर्म हो सेवा, हमारा धर्म हो सेवा, सदा ईमान हो सेवा, वो सेवक चर बना देना, वतन के वास्ते जीना, वतन के वास्ते मरना, वतन पर जान फिदा करना, प्रभु हमको सिखा देना, दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना, दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना.
Thank you everyone. Please be seated. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others, said by Mahatma Gandhi. A hearty welcome to all. Now, I request our distinguished, energetic, vibrant Joint Director Guides, the Bharat Scouts and Guides, respected Mrs. Darshana Ma'am, to welcome the gathering.
A very good morning to all present here. Today's program will be one of the most valuable piece of show to everyone here, with a brand new morning, with a brand new learning and new beginnings. Stop the Violence campaign of WAGS teaches us issues related with gender balance violence. Today, you will be learning about the things we need to know about while dealing violence. Sustainable Development Goal 5, which revolves around gender equality, can also be achieved only when genders are treated equally, when they are educated, when they are made aware of what are the issues that have been faced and how a mankind to be respected. It's time for us not to just keep on learning this new knowledge, but to bring all these learnings into action. Only then we can achieve the goal to stop violence around us. We in India are living in such a condition where there's a lot of violence going around. So learning how to tackle violence in today's morning session will help you to tackle at your own spheres. These workshops introduced by Bharat Scouts and Guides India under the leadership of Shri Dr. Anil Kumar Jain, President of Bharat Scouts and Guides, Dr. K.K. Khandelwal, retired IS, Chief National Commissioner of Bharat Scouts and Guides, to bring the knowledge of rovers and rangers, scouts, guides, and all of them to tackle these issues around them. In this pandemic situation, we have seen that the most affected is the youth. The youth mind is affected, their development, their mental health, their physical health, and especially the females have been affected the most because there was an increase of violence, domestic violence, which was recorded pan-India as well as on the global map. So let us learn what are these different kinds of violences which happen and how you can deal it. Where do we go to help, ask for help? On this occasion, I feel privileged to welcome today's guest, Srimati Geeta Nataraj, Vice President Bharat Scouts and Guides and State Commissioner Guides for Karnataka State. Srimati Kavita Kalvakunta Ma'am, Honorable Member of Legislative Council and State Chief Commissioner, Telangana State. We also have Ms. Razia Begum Ma'am, National Headquarters Commission, Public Relations. And we have got two experts who have worked on Stop the Violence program along with WAGS, and they have made a lot of difference on the global platform. And these two speakers are especially here this early morning to impart their knowledge. We have Chamatya Fernando, STV Global Facilitator from WAGS. She is from Sri Lanka. We also have Nefali, Global Facilitator WAGS from Greece. I welcome all of you to be here on this Tuesday morning to impart STV, impart knowledge about STV and how to handle it. I also welcome all the viewers on our YouTube channel, all the participants on this webinar for making this morning wonderful, learning oriented. Thank you. Welcome one and all.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your warm welcome. Even a single light dispels the deepest darkness. Now, I request our guests to light the lamp virtually.
Thank you. Optimism is the one quality more associated with success and happiness than any other, said by Brian Tracy. Now, I would like to introduce Srimati Geeta Nataraj Ma'am, Vice President, National Headquarters, State Commissioner Guides, Karnataka. For more than 16 years, she continued to be leader trainer in Bangalore district. She is also one of the members of Asia Pacific region, WAGS, for more than 19 years. And she was also been Assistant State Commissioner Projects, Karnataka from 1990 to 1993 and District Commissioner Guides, Bangalore North from 1985 to 1990. It's my honor and privilege, ma'am, to introduce to the gathering. Please share some few words, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Srimati Kavita Kalpakuntala, State Chief Commissioner, Telangana. Ms. Razia Begum, National Headquarters and Headquarters Commissioner, Madam Darshana Ji, Joint Director, National Headquarters, and Kaushik Ji, Director, National Headquarters, members of WACS, Srimati Kumud Mehra, Assistant Director, Southern Region. This is Stop the Violence for Her World talk show. Stop the Violence, it is an initiative for the SDG 5 gender equality. Violence is the second leading cause of death among adolescent girls globally. Global estimates published by WHO that about 35% of women worldwide have experienced either physical and or sexual
मम्मी जरा
intimate
पिया को
partner
भेजना
violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime. Globally, as many as 38% of murders of women are committed by a male intimate partners. So every woman, every girl have to take care of themselves and be bold to face everything that comes as a strange. Every woman, every girl in the whole world must become strong and courageous to face the situation. They must be aware of the violence which is going to happen. Parents and adults in the family should give knowledge and giving awareness about this violence to their children, and better to watch around the girls, their friend circles. As per the law of age of girls is to be 18 years to get married, but more than 15 million girls in the world are married before their 18th birthday. This should be avoided. To protect themselves, to become strong, every girl must learn self-defense techniques, that is self-protection. These techniques teaches girl an effective way to defend themselves using psychological method and self-defense techniques in case of situation occurs. Every woman, every girl, child in the whole world must try seriously to work on this WACS project, that is Stop the Violence, and on woman empowerment, and become strong and courageous. So by this, I thank Bharat Scouts and Guides Southern Region and National Headquarters invited me to this program as a guest and say a few words. Thank you once again, one and all. Happy Scouting and Guiding. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I would like to call upon Ms. Priya, District Secretary, Barni Park District, Tamil Nadu, to introduce today's guest speakers for the talk show for the occasion. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Monisha. I feel honored in introducing Ms. Chamatya Fernando from Sri Lanka. Ms. Chamatya is a STV Global Facilitator and is currently serving as a member of the Generation Equality Global Youth Task Force set up by UN Women. As a global facilitator of the Stop the Violence campaign, Chamatya has delivered projects for Sri Lanka Girl Guides Association and Bangladesh Girl Guides Association. She has also a wide range of experiences with Rotaract, Girl Up UN Foundation Initiative, Plan International, UNICEF Sri Lanka, and so on, focusing on different thematic areas. She was recognized by the US State Department as one of the 10 global emerging young leaders in 2017 for her work on empowering girls and young women against gender-based violence. A wholehearted welcome to you, ma'am. Next, I take great privilege to introduce Ms. Nefli Timali from Greece. Ms. Nefeli is the Global Programs Manager for the World's Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts and has been a volunteer of the movement for more than 20 years. She is currently managing the Voices Against Violence curriculum in collaboration with UN Women and is being implemented in 40 countries around the world. She has a wide range of experience in developing and delivering educational and inclusive programs focusing on gender and youth empowerment, and her academic background is gender and development from the Institute of Development Studies, University of Sussex. A wholehearted welcome to you, ma'am. Next, I take immense pleasure in introducing the guest speaker from India, Mr. Satyajit, rover leader from Karnataka. He was a Rashtrapati Scout from NF Railway State. He has also attended 24th World Scout Jamboree in West Virginia, USA in 2019. He has also been working on the project Violence Against Women and Girls. Next, I would like to introduce Mrs. Jyoti Rani Mahatma, the District Organizing Commissioner from Rajasthan, who has also been working for the Stop the Violence campaign of India. So a wholehearted welcome to all the guest speakers here. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Chamatya Fernando and Ms. Nefali Timali to take over the session. Please, ma'am.
Hello and welcome.
Hello, everyone, and a huge welcome to you all.
I'm sharing just my screen. Hello, namaste, welcome. I hope everyone is well. We are very excited to be here. And yes, although it's early, it's not that, it's okay. It's 7:30 for me, so it's fine. And as we say in Greek, good morning is kalimera. So kalimera to all of you. Yeah, I'll let Samatya as well say hi.
Yeah, so hi everyone and namaste to you all. So like Nefoi said, it's Ayubovan and Subodhasana in Sinhalese and Vanakkam in Tamil. So yeah, hi to everyone.
So we will start with a video that we would like to share. So we heard some very interesting statistics that when we talk about gender-based violence, why also we're talking, we're saying more about women because women are the ones that are mostly affected when we're talking about gender-based violence. And we are going to cover this through this talk show, morning talk show that we have prepared for you. So first we would like to kick off with a video, and I think this will be shared by our team that's supporting us before we start with the session. So let me... Thank you so much. So we wanted to share this video because it shows an important message that yes, violence and even street harassment, and that we kind of we show some examples in this video. It's happening worldwide. It's happening mainly to women. That's why we're talking about violence against women and girls, and that's the program what is working on mainly, that on violence against women and girls. And also that it is the girls need to take action, but the boys need to take action too. It's a joint work that we need to work to do together in order to end violence against women and girls. So it's not only the girls' responsibility, and we will share more examples of how this also campaign has been built around girl-led advocacy campaigning. So Matthew, I don't know if you have anything else to add, reflecting this video, otherwise we can.
Definitely, and I think also sexual harassment in public spaces, especially in the streets, is very common. I think for the South Asia region, whether it's India or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, we always hear about this. And also we see a lot of silence and acceptance when it comes to this, because people think that, oh, we just have to ignore it. But I think this video also shows that it's important to say that what they're doing is wrong. And we also see that it's not a physical abuse, but it's just a stare that, you know, make the girls and young comfortable. And we also see that irrespective of what they're wearing, and if you notice that even when she was wearing the burqa, still she's being stared at or even given an uncomfortable glance. So we see that that kind of abuse and harassment needs to stop. So that's why I feel the importance of our messaging and our education plays such a crucial role. So over to you, Neha.
Thank you, Tomatia. So now we have something interactive also for all of you. We have prepared an online quiz, so everyone can participate, and let's also reflect on our knowledge, what we know around Stop the Violence and the gender-based violence around the world. So we heard some of the statistics from many of our speakers and the introduction, and these are also realities for many girls. So let's see what you remember from what you hear or what you already know. So you need to join this online quiz with using this QR code.
And also maybe Satya can explain it in Hindi.
Yeah, as soon as they join, are we also able to see everyone that joins? How is it?
So they need to Google slido.com and then search for that hashtag.
Oh, and we see already 2 people. Great.
Please quickly join us at slido.com. The code is STV. YouTube में जो हमारे viewers हैं, कृपया join कीजिए इस quiz में. Slido.com. The code is STV. You can also see the QR code on the screen. You can scan it through your mobile. We can see participants joining in. We'll give some more time to it.
Yes, that's great.
don't hesitate to participate in the quiz. It will be eye-opening, and it will be interesting for you all to see the questions and take part in the quiz too. So please join in for the quiz.
Yes, and don't be discouraged. We're here also to learn. So don't worry if you are not feeling that you know many information. That's why you are here. So, oh, that's great. We have 20 people already.
Let me know, Nefli, if you want me to start the quiz.
It seems a bit more people are joining, so let's wait for a couple more, for less than 30 seconds, and then we can start.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's start with the quiz then. So our first question is, gender-based violence includes which of the following? लिंग आधारित हिंसा में निम्न में से कौन शामिल है? फिजिकल वायलेंस, शारीरिक हिंसा, इमोशनल वायलेंस, भावनात्मक हिंसा, सेक्सुअल वायलेंस, यौन हिंसा, इकोनॉमिक वायलेंस, आर्थिक हिंसा, ऑल ऑफ द अबव, ऊपर के सभी.
Okay, we see almost everyone is responding, so let's see what's the response, the correct one.
Oh, so most of them has responded as all of the above. Nefli, do you want me to show the answer?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Perfect. Well done. So yes, it's all of the above. So gender-based violence includes physical violence, emotional violence, sexual violence, economic violence, and we'll have an opportunity to talk more about the different forms of violence. Let's go to the next one.
Sure. How many women who are alive today have undergone female genital cutting? आज जो महिलाएं जिंदा है उनमें से कितनी महिलाएं जेनिटल कटिंग यानी कि महिला जनानंग काटना से गुजरी है? 120 मिलियन, 60 मिलियन, 200 मिलियन और 10 मिलियन. Okay, let's go for the poll. Oh, so it's a tie between B and C, that is 60 million and 200 million.
So I'm afraid to say that, and really sorry, that actually the largest number is the correct one. So let's see the answer, the correct answer. So 200 million. So globally, at least 200 million and women alive today have undergone on female genital cutting or mutilation. It's a very common practice that's taking place also across the world and within the Asia-Pacific region. And if current trends continue, 15 million girls will have undergone by 2030. So it's quite a common practice, unfortunately, still. Thank you. Let's go to the next one.
Sure. What percentage of girls and women globally has experienced violence from an intimate partner in their lifetime? विश्व भर में लड़कियों और महिलाओं के कितने प्रतिशत ने अपने जीवन काल में अंतरंग साथी से हिंसा का अनुभव किया है? 70%, 40%, 15% और 85%? Now, let's see. Okay, so most of them have answered as 70%.
Let's see the correct answer. Yes, it's correct. So we heard also this statistic from one of our guest speakers here, and so unfortunately 70% of girls and women globally have experienced violence. So women who have been physically or sexually abused by the parents are more than twice as likely to have an abortion, almost twice as likely to experience depression, and in some region 1.5 times more likely to acquire HIV compared to women who haven't not experienced partner violence. So it's something that's quite common as we see. Okay, let's move to the next question.
The United Nations Family Health Survey suggests that blank women in India in the age group of 15 to 49 have experienced physical violence since the age of 15. A, 5%, B, 30%, C, 20%, or 10%.
What do we think? Maybe you can. Yeah.
Let's see the poll.
Yeah, 30%. Would you like to also mention the title again in Hindi so people can?
Yeah, of course. So, राष्ट्रीय परिवार स्वास्थ्य सर्वेक्षण बताता है कि 15 से 49 आयु वर्ग में भारत में महिलाओं ने 15 साल की उम्र में से शारीरिक हिंसा का अनुभव किया है. कितने प्रतिशत महिलाओं ने? तो मैक्सिमम लोगों ने उत्तर दिया है 30%.
So this is from the National Family Health Survey that happened across India, and this report was saying that about 31% also of wealthy women have experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence by their spouses. So we are talking, so basically, about 1 in 3 women that has been experiencing this, which is a quite high percentage. Let's move to the next question. It seems that we have already some experts here at Samatya. I don't know if you see that most of the people are.
So the 5th question is, how many countries excuse rape perpetrators from prosecution when they are married to or subsequently marry their victim? कितने देश अभियुक्तों से बलात्कार के अपराधियों को अभियुक्त बनाते हैं जब वे विवाहित होते हैं या बाद में अपने पीड़ित से विवाह करते हैं? 24, B 42, C 37, or D 12? Okay. So maximum people say is 37. Let's see the correct answer. 37 it is.
So that's actually the correct one. Well done, everyone. So we have countries such as, for example, Jordan that recently revoked Article 108 in the Penal Code, which allowed rape and kidnap perpetrators to be protected by punishment from subsequently their victims. So basically, if there were a man was raping a girl, they wouldn't be prosecuted if they marry them. So it was it happened. They revoked this article in Jordan, but in many countries this still happens. Let's go to the next question. So 37%.
What percentage of women seeking help after experiencing violence appeal to the police? हिंसा का सामना करने के बाद पुलिस से मदद की मांग करने वाली महिलाओं में से कितने प्रतिशत है? A 30%, B 15%, C 20%, D less than 10%. Okay, let's see the poll. Less than 10%.
Well done again. So it's actually quite important to say that actually we see how less women are reporting. Can you imagine why? In India as well, according to a report by LiveMint, about 99% of cases of sexual violence go unreported. The extent of underreporting tends to be higher on average in states with low female literacy. In states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, sorry for the accent, less than 0.5% of incidents of violence against women and girls are reported. In many cases, it's because the women don't believe that actually they will find justice for the crime that they have, for the horrible thing that they have suffered. So one of the reasons that we need to Stop the Violence campaign is to make sure that we strengthen the laws, we inform police in order to protect those women and find justice for the violence that they suffer. So let's move to the next question.
Evidence shows that when men and boys are engaged in tackling gender inequality and promoting women's choices, the resulting outcomes are positive and men and women are able to enjoy equitable, healthy and happy relationships. साक्ष्य बताते हैं कि जब पुरुष और लड़के लैंगिक असमानता से निपटने और महिलाओं की पसंद को बढ़ावा देने के में लगे हुए हैं, तो परिणाम सकारात्मक है और पुरुष और महिला समान, स्वस्थ और खुशहाल रिश्ते का आनंद लेने में समक्ष है. True or false? So 76% has answered as true.
Let's hope also we convince the rest of the 24%. So a study on masculinity and intimate partner violence in India showed that 2 out of every 5 men were rigidly masculine, so defined as having inequitable gender attitudes and high level of controlling behavior. Thinking that they have more power from girls and women. That's what one of the terminologies of rigid masculinity. You might have heard it also as toxic masculinity. And these men were 3 times more likely to perpetrate acts of physical violence against the partners. So what we're saying is, and also the program and the curriculum that we have is co-educational. It's very important that we work with the boys and men from early age to make sure that we tackle these gender stereotypes, the toxic masculinity. We might hear many times saying boys don't cry. Of course, they're humans. Boys and girls cry. They show emotions, and you know, by creating, by tackling these gender stereotypes and harmful norms that are the perceptions that we have for the role of men in the society, by providing equality and equity to all of the humans, we can actually tackle one of the main roots of gender-based violence. Okay, we're reaching to the final decision, and well done to all of you who have been doing amazingly in this online quiz.
Yeah, so we'll have the last question of this quiz. What tools does WAGS provide that can help communities combat gender-based violence? WAGS, that is World Association of Girl Guide and Girl Scouts, क्या उपकरण प्रदान करता है जो समुदायों को लिंग आधारित हिंसा से निपटने में मदद कर सकता है? Stop the Violence Campaign, Voices Against Violence Curriculum, Speak Out Toolkit, all of the above.
Let's see what people think. Oh, wow, 90%, amazing. And that's the correct answer as well. Well done.
I mean, we must thank our viewers, the participants and the YouTube viewers who are actively participating with us. That's really great. That shows the spirit of everyone.
Great, thank you. So Thomas, are we ready to start with our conversation?
Yeah. So thanks again, Nefuli and Satya, for taking us through the poll, and also the participants for engaging in it. And it's important that we kind of brush up our knowledge and awareness about the issue, because it also helps us think about how much we know about the issue and how much we need to further learn about it. So thanks again for that. And also the viewers, don't feel, like Nefuli said, don't feel discouraged, because again, this session and in future, I think we will have more conversation and awareness sessions to talk more about the issue. And I'm sure in the past you all will learn about the myths around it, the stereotypes, and what causes and what consequences we have because of the issue. So I think some of the areas that we touched upon during the poll and the quiz, we will definitely further discuss during the discussion today. So having said that, I think we are now coming into the question and answer session that we are going to have with Nefuli, Satya, Jyoti, and myself. And how we have discussed to go about this is that for example, Nefuli and I will be asking questions from each other. And then once we have explained it in English, Satya or Jyoti will be interpreting that answer in Hindi, more like a very quick summary of it, so that everybody is able to understand.
Great.
So I'll move to the first question. That's going to come to Nefuli, and that will be, Nefuli, how would you describe what gender-based violence is for someone who is unfamiliar to this topic? And from the quiz or the poll that we took, we saw our viewers' awareness and opinion, and then it was very encouraging to see that most of them were very much aware of the issue, but we also saw some gaps in that. So what does this real statistics look like for us to understand the gravity of this issue, and what impact are we seeing with COVID-19 this year, how gender-based violence has happened or have increased in this span of time? Over to you.
Great. So I have here the definition. There are two definitions that are taking place, and these are also taken from our Voice Against Violence curriculum. So as girls and young women have spoken, they define the gender-based violence definition as violence against girls and young women in any type of violence, whether it is physical, sexual, psychological, that occurs to a girl. It can be anything from a threat to a physical beating someone up because they are a girl or a woman. So violence against girls and young women in any act which hurts a girl and a woman that was committed due to their gender. So we see here the definition of gender. So do you want me to finish with the introduction and then we can interpret, to do a summary, isn't it?
Yeah, you can finish it first and then I will interpret it. Yeah.
So we see here some terminology about gender and basically why we're talking about violence against women and girls when we're talking about gender-based violence. We have violence to girls, we have gender-based violence because there is gender inequality. So it's gender inequality and discrimination and root causes about violence against women and girls. And we see here the link. When we have gender inequality, we have gender-based violence. When we have gender-based violence, we create gender inequality. And why this is happening? Why we mean gender? So gender refers to any social attributes of being male or female, and it determines what is expected or allowed or valued in a masculine or a feminine context. So gender basically is what society, religion, many other aspects in a human's life is expected to be. So, for example, in my culture, gender role for a woman is very much expected to be, although working, having her own work, when she returns to home, most probably she's the one taking the lead in the housework, whereas the men are usually the ones that are working for longer hours, and they are the ones that also are expected to make more money and to provide for the family. So this is a gender role that has been appointed to men and women, for example, for my where I come from, and I think that it's also very common. I believe that's very common in many other cultures. Where sex refers to the biological or physiological characteristic that define as male and female when a human is born. So if we go back, so depending on the gender role that you have, depending on what is expected for you to be in the society, this creates inequality. So we were giving more power in many societies to men compared to women. And this power can result to violence because it's that men believe that have bigger and higher power than women. That also results to violence, that also discrimination, and as we see, the definition of violence. In terms of, so what we see differences in inequalities, what we say the difference in power. So this comes difference in opportunities, responsibilities assigned. So opportunities, some boys go to school in some families more than other girls. Responsibilities assigned. These have been, as we said, an example is housework, activities undertaken. Boys only play football, girls only play with dolls. Access to and control over resources. In many countries, boys are the ones in the family that will probably, and men will eat more food than women, as well as decision-making opportunities. In many countries, women haven't been even yet prime ministers. I see India, I know that India has, but in my country as well, it hasn't. But it's not only decision-making to being a prime minister, but actually being in places of power, in judiciary, in other government positions. So this results in women and girls being discriminated against and being prevented of enjoying the human rights. We will see more of these examples, but this is some where we have forms of violence. So we have domestic violence in the household, anything that happens in the home, the private space of people, and we see a big statistics of from 50 to 71 people. Sexual abuse, forced early marriage, female genital mutilation, sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, discrimination, female infanticide, dating violence, and HIV. So these are different forms of violence that women are experiencing because of the gender, because of the role that society has been expecting them to have. So in terms of COVID-19, so COVID-19 presents an unprecedented challenge in the lives of girls and young women around the world. So this global pandemic is exposing these existing inequalities across societies and highlights specific risks and vulnerabilities that girls and young women face. And this, as we said, is deeply rooted in social norms and values, are barriers to girls living safe, healthy, and full lives. So one of the largest challenges for that COVID-19 brought has about restricting movement. Oh, sorry, I pressed one. So there were. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So one of the largest changes that COVID-19 brought was restriction movings and gatherings. So with this restriction come a loss of community, support, safely that many women and girls rely on. So around the world, schools and organizations providing services have been closed. And at the same time, community groups have been paused, many laid out from work, and they are not able to gather with family and friends. So this increases the isolation, economic uncertainty, which poses severe risk to girls and young women. The next slide. So gender-based violence in itself can be seen as a social construct violence that no country is immune. It has serious and life-altering impact on physical, mental, sexual, and reproductive health of girls anywhere. And if you'd like to hear more about WAC's position on the safety of girls and the needs of girls and young women during the pandemic, please also visit our website, and it's available. And I will stop here because I know said a lot.
Yeah, Nefli ma'am, should I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. तो सबसे पहले मैं आप सभी को स्टॉप द वायलेंस के बारे में बताना चाहूंगा। उसके बाद मैं आऊंगा जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस के ऊपर। स्टॉप द वायलेंस लड़कियों और महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा को खत्म करने के लिए वर्ल्ड एसोसिएशन ऑफ गर्ल गाइड्स एंड गर्ल स्काउट्स का एक ग्लोबल फ्लैगशिप अभियान है। 2011 में लॉन्च होने के बाद दुनिया भर में गर्ल गाइड्स और गर्ल स्काउट्स वकालत, शिक्षा, जागरूकता बढ़ाने, सामुदायिक कार्रवाई और अनुसंधान के माध्यम में अपना समुदायों में महिलाओं और लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा से निपट रहे हैं। दुनिया भर में गर्ल गाइड और गर्ल स्काउट अपने स्कूलों, स्थानीय समुदायों और अपने देशों में कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं। एसटीवी यानी कि स्टॉप द वायलेंस का सारा काम 5 घटकों के अंतर्गत आता है। यह सुनिश्चित करने के लिए डिजाइन किया गया है कि अभियान का लड़कियों के जीवन पर सीधा प्रभाव पड़ता है, साथ ही उन्हें नीति का प्रभावित करने और स्थानीय, राष्ट्रीय और वैश्विक स्तर पर सामाजिक दृष्टिकोण बदलने में सक्षम बनाता है। अभी हम आते हैं जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस पे, जिसे हम कह सकते हैं लिंग आधारित हिंसा। लिंग आधारित हिंसा वो हिंसा है जो किसी व्यक्ति पर उसके जैविक लिंग या लिंग पहचान के आधार पर निर्देशित की जाती है। इसमें शारीरिक, यौन, मौखिक, भावनात्मक और मनोवैज्ञानिक दुर्व्यवहार, धमकी, जबरदस्ती और आर्थिक या शैक्षिक अभाव शामिल है, चाहे सार्वजनिक या निजी जीवन में घटित हो। यूएन वुमेन के उभरते हुए डेटा से पता चलता है कोविड-19 के प्रकोप के बाद से महिलाओं और लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा तेज हो गई है, जो बहुत ही शर्मनाक है। लिंग आधारित हिंसा और एक सामाजिक रूप से निर्मित वायरस है जो विश्व स्तर पर महामारी के स्तर तक पहुंच गया है और कोई भी देश प्रतिरक्षा नहीं है। इसका हर जगह महिलाओं और लड़कियों के शारीरिक, मानसिक, यौन और प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य पर गंभीर जीवन परिवर्तनकारी प्रभाव पड़ता है। उभरते आंकड़ों से पता चलता है कि कोविड-19 के प्रकोप के बाद से महिलाओं और लड़कियों और विशेष रूप से घरेलू हिंसा के खिलाफ हिंसा तेज हो गई है। इसके कई कारण हैं। लोग एक दूसरे के साथ ज्यादा समय बिताने लगे हैं। लोग परेशान हो रहे हैं कि कईयों का जॉब छूट गया है, कईयों का बिजनेस में नुकसान हो गया है। इसी कारण घरेलू हिंसा भी बढ़ने लगा है, जो कि बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए था। कोविड-19 महामारी और उसके बाद के लॉकडाउन के परिणाम स्वरूप लड़कियों और महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा में वृद्धि के साथ महिलाओं और लड़कियों को अपराधियों के साथ घर पर बंद कर दिया गया है, यानी कि वो अभी भी रह रहे हैं और उन स्थानों पर कर रहे हैं जो उनके लिए और भी असुरक्षित हो गए हैं। Thank you, Nefli.
Thank you so much. So now I have a question for you, Tamatya. So I share a bit more of the global perspective on gender-based violence statistics, the terminology of gender-based violence. Sorry, I realized that I don't have my video. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me, Nefli?
Yes.
Okay, because my Zoom is stuck and I think it's kicking me out. So in case if it does, so please excuse me if I have to pick it up. But y'all can hear me clearly, right?
Yes. Are you okay to? So I'm ready to ask you a question about sharing more about the South Asian. You're coming from a South Asian country. So what would you like to add in terms of sub-regional perspective, in terms of gender-based violence, violence in the region, and specifically in India?
Yeah. So I think it was very clear from your explanation on what gender-based violence was and how it has impacted COVID-19 and what girls and women are going through. And I think it's also important to tell the viewers that if you have any questions or any thoughts or comments about it, feel free to share with us in the chat. And also, if you're on YouTube watching us, you can add the questions there, and I'm sure BSG will definitely share the answers with you all later. So feel free to engage in this discussion because it's more like a conversation. We want you all to engage with us as well. So giving a bit of, understanding on how this issue is in the sub-region. I think it's important to identify that, gender-based violence, is commonly prevalent in our sub-region, whether it is India or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or Pakistan. All 8 countries has this issue. And also this is a global, pervasive public health and development issue. So it's not just a women's or girls issue, it's everybody. It's all stakeholders must, take this seriously and consider this as a issue for all communities, all societies. And I think it's important for us to also identify that such violence has economic, fiscal consequences as well for our country. So it's not just a person's individual's kind of suffering or experience. It's impacting all communities, everybody. And I think when it comes to South Asia, if we speak about certain statistics, I think we have highest rate of child marriage in the world, with around 46% of girls married by the age of 18. And I think Bangladesh, if we take, specifically on child marriages, is ranking high when it comes to the region. And if we speak about India, certain statistics were already shared, but also to reiterate on that, more than 32,500 cases of rape were registered with the police in 2017, which means about 90 cases per day. And, according to the most recent government data, it says that every 15, 16 minutes, a rape is reported. So I feel that all 8 countries in South Asia have specific constitutional provisions addressing this issue. And also we have signed the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the CEDAW, with, of course, with certain reservations. But we do have these policies and laws in place. But the problem is that the implementation of it, the taking action part of it, the communication to the people that these are available, and we must not face such violation of rights. So we need to understand these specific issues in the sub-region. And also there's legal protection against several forms of violence, for example, female infanticide, child marriages, intimate partner violence. And if we speak about, certain stereotyping and very cultural based issues that we have, is patriarchy in South Asian countries is very inbuilt. And these circumstances actually perpetuate social norms that actually influence such violence also against women and girls. So I think it's important for us to understand these attributes and also, see how are we going to bust these myths? How are we going to break these stereotypes? You mentioned about, things like girls wear pink, boys wear blue, boys don't cry, girls don't, laugh loudly. These stereotypes that we hear everyday life, I think we need to kind of overcome and break those. So this is just a little bit of things that's very prevalent in the region and in our countries. And, some videos that I use in Sri Lanka are actually Indian content, like the video that we saw, They Play, the video that was done by Vogue called Boys Don't Cry. And I think there's also a series of videos called Bell Bajao, which also speaks about how other people have and is able to, raise their, kind of voice, but also in a different way for domestic violence. So I think these videos also communicate a certain message about the issue, not just in India, but also in the South Asia. Over to you, Satya, for the translation.
Sure, ma'am. तो चामत्या मैडम ने अभी कहा है कि जो जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस है उसका क्या प्रभाव है, इसमें सिर्फ लिंग असमानता ही नहीं बल्कि अर्थनैतिक व्यवस्था भी इफेक्ट करता है। और इनमें कई तरह के हिंसा होते हैं, जैसे कि घरेलू हिंसा, यौन हिंसा, बाल विवाह या फिर फोर्स्ड मैरिज जो हम कहते हैं, ये सारे हिंसा इसमें शामिल है। अब हमें ये देखना है कि हमारे देश में या फिर साउथ ईस्ट एशिया जो जिसमें हम आते हैं, इंडिया आती है, उसमें क्या प्रभाव है इस जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस के। या फिर लिंग आधारित वायलेंस से। महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा एशिया में हिंसा के सबसे घातक रूपों में से एक है। फिर भी यह सरकारों और नीति निर्माताओं द्वारा नाटकीय रूप से अनदेखी की जाती है। लिंग आधारित हिंसा क्षेत्र में हिंसा के सबसे घातक रूपों में से एक है। यह अक्सर सशस्त्र संघर्ष और बढ़े हुए हिंसा के अन्य रूपों की तुलना में अधिक लोगों को मारता है, जो आम तौर पर नीति निर्माताओं और विकास अभिनेताओं से अधिक ध्यान आकर्षित करते हैं। इसका मैं कुछ उदाहरण भी देना चाहता हूं, जैसे कि 2011 और 2015 के बीच भारत में 40,000 से अधिक दहेज संबंधी मौत दर्ज की गई है। यह कश्मीर संघर्ष, नक्सली विद्रोह और पूर्वोत्तर भारत के उग्रवादों के संयुक्त काल में 10 गुना से अधिक है। इसी अवधि के दौरान सभी लिंग संयुक्त और दहेज संबंधी मौतें भारत में लिंग आधारित हिंसा के कई घातक रूपों में से एक है। नेपाल और बांग्लादेश, जो कि हमारे पड़ोसी देश हैं, एशिया फाउंडेशन द्वारा समर्थित हिंसा निगरानी परियोजनाओं के हाल के आंकड़ों से संकेत मिलता है कि लिंग आधारित हिंसा इन देशों में जानबूझकर हत्या का पहला या दूसरा कारण है। राजनीतिक या जातीय सांप्रदायिक हिंसा से भी आगे है। एशिया में अधिकांश देशों में घरेलू हिंसा के खिलाफ कानून है। यह आप सबके जानकारी के लिए है, लेकिन लगभग सभी कानून अविवाहित अंतरंग भागीदारियों को बाहर करते हैं। सीमित जागरूकता, सक्षमता और राजनीतिक अभाव महिलाओं की कानूनी सुरक्षा में बाधा डालेगा। घरेलू हिंसा और लिंग आधारित हिंसा के अन्य रूपों के खिलाफ कानून अभी शुरुआती बिंदु है। महिलाओं और लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा पूरे जीवन चक्र में फैली हुई है। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Satya, for the interpretation, but also adding some more information to what I shared. I think it's important that, for us to share as much information and awareness on this topic with our viewers. And now, Nefali, I think we could move on to just a little bit of explanation in what types of violence can we identify as gender-based violence, and what are the major causes for such violence. If you can a little elaborate on that, and then Satya do the translation.
Yeah, so we mentioned a bit of we mentioned this a bit in my in the earlier question. So we have different forms of violence, and the forms that are presented here are also the ones that we work and have seen different member organizations work on. So as we said, we have domestic violence, sexual abuse, forced early marriage, as we had heard, is very common in the Asia Pacific region. Female genital mutilation, sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, discrimination. So discrimination has to do with like discriminating girls over boys, in terms of like giving more opportunities to boys, more access to resources to boys, because they're boys, they believe in the society because of the gender role. So that's because of why we have so female infanticide, like killing girls early as babies, because and we have like also 60 million girls missing worldwide, dating violence 1 in 6 globally, and also fortunately women and girls are are most vulnerable when it comes to HIV. Some of the, so Timothy asked me also major causes. We have touched them a bit. So gender inequality and discrimination, as we said, like the gender role that is expected between men and women creates a different inequality of the expectations, the access, the opportunities that they have, and discrimination. Power and control. So men use this this power that the society has given them, a history as well, and use it as a form, use violence as a form of power and control. The culture of acceptance. We see in many cultures and societies that, you know, not like even street harassment, like watching a woman's breast while she's they're both riding in the train, and no one is saying anyone to the men, making this woman uncomfortable, is one of the many reasons that we find in the cultures and the causes of gender-based violence and repeating violence against women. In many parts of the world, girls are invisible. There are weak laws as well. So as we said, women don't find justice when they report cases, or they actually don't prosecute the perpetrators. So that's one of the ways where we need to act more, the weak laws, the legal system. People are not aware about this happening and understanding their causes and why this is happening. There's limited support, limited services provided to victims. It's allowed to women to sell sex, as we've seen poverty, and as we all know, poverty affects more girls and women, so they are very vulnerable and found in these situations of being poor, being invisible, and having other people, especially men, having control over them in order to give them food and, for example, in exchange for sex. Conflict and emergencies, so we've seen wars, or when it has been a natural disaster, men and women are the ones more affected, and harmful practices, so early forced marriage, female genital mutilation. So yeah, these are, so yes, please feel free to translate. And also ask the participants if they are reflecting and if they're saying this in India happening as one of the causes as well.
All right, Nefli मैम, जी दर्शकों, जैसे कि नेफली मैम ने कहा है, जो आप स्क्रीन पे देख रहे हैं जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस यानी कि लिंग आधारित हिंसा, जो इनके जो मुख्य कारण हैं, क्या आपने कभी अपने जीवन में ये सारे कारण कभी देखे हैं या फिर जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस कभी एक्सपीरियंस किए हैं? अगर किए हैं तो प्लीज शेयर कीजिए हमारे साथ चैट बॉक्स में या फिर क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर में, ताकि हम और जान सके और आपके सारे सवालों को क्लियर कर सके। तो जैसे कि आप स्क्रीन पे देख रहे हैं, जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस यानी लिंग अंतर्गत हिंसा जो कि है वो महिलाओं और लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा, अंतरंग हिंसा, घरेलू हिंसा एवं यौन हिंसा में आता है। इसमें शारीरिक, यौन, मौखिक, भावनात्मक और मनोवैज्ञानिक दुर्व्यवहार, धमकी, जबरदस्ती और आर्थिक या शैक्षिक अभाव भी शामिल है। लिंग आधारित हिंसा और विशेष रूप से महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा, महिलाओं और पुरुषों के बीच असमान शक्ति संबंधों के सबसे स्पष्ट अभिव्यक्तियों में से एक है। हिंसा का मुख्य कारण अपराधी उसे या खुद को है। यह ध्यान रखना बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है कि एक व्यक्ति जो लिंग आधारित हिंसा से प्रभावित है, वो कभी भी अपराधी के कार्यों के लिए जिम्मेदार नहीं है। कोई भी ऐसा कारक नहीं है जो हमारे समाजों में लिंग आधारित हिंसा की व्याख्या कर सकता है, बल्कि इसके पीछे कई कारकों का योगदान है और इन कारकों का परस्पर संबंध समस्या की जड़ में है। इसमें कुछ कारक ऐसे हैं। सांस्कृतिक कारक। सांस्कृतिक कारक के बारे में थोड़ा बता दूं, जैसे कि मैडम ने हमें कहा है कि पैट्रियार्कल यानी कि पितृसत्तात्मक और यौनवादी विचार पुरुषों के प्रभुत्व और श्रेष्ठता को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए हिंसा को वैधता प्रदान करता है। अन्य सांस्कृतिक कारकों में लिंग रूढ़िवादिता और पूर्वाग्रह, स्त्रीत्व और पुरुषत्व की प्रामाणिक अपेक्षाएं, लिंग का समाजीकरण, परिवार में की समझ, निजी क्षेत्र के तहत और पुरुष अधिकार के रूप में, और सार्वजनिक क्षेत्र के हिंसा के रूप में हिंसा की एक सामान्य संस्कृति और या संघर्ष को हल करने के लिए एक स्वीकार्य साधन के रूप में या अपने आप को मुखर करना होता है। इसमें और भी कुछ कारक हैं, जैसे कानूनी कारक, आर्थिक कारक या फिर राजनीतिक कारक। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
Great, thank you. So now a question for you, Tamatya. So we talked about the causes. What are also the consequences for violence against women and girls?
Thank you, Nefali. And I think Satya also covered some of it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I think Satya also covered a little bit of that in his explanation along with the causes. And I think for our viewers to understand it well, what probably would be easier would be imagine yourself a problem tree. For example, a tree. And then the causes are basically the roots. The root causes are creating the problem. The problem is like the trunk. And then the consequences are basically what are the results or the effects of that. So basically you see that, the causes that Nefali explained and then Satya also elaborated on. And then we have the problem of gender-based violence, which then gives us the consequences or the effects of it. So when we speak about effects or the consequences of gender-based violence, it is, it's very diverse, and the effects of it is also depending from one case to the other. But most commonly we see that physical effects of, for example, if it's domestic violence, we see that, the injuries, the headaches, the back and abdominal pain, poor health, even causing maybe disability. The women who face such violence and beating, and then of course it can lead into further disease and even as serious as death. And then we also see that, for example, psychological effects. Mostly we see that emotional impact from gender-based violence. For example, the video we saw, Dekle, it shows that nobody's touching you, but that glance, that stare actually causes us emotional imbalance and emotional psychological impact from what we experience. And I think that is one of the biggest issues when it comes to gender-based violence. The fact that these victims actually has to go through such psychological and emotional impact from that. And it also can be very lasting experience, because what you experience will not go immediately away. And then you see depression, mental health disorders, post-traumatic stress, sometimes even increased sexual risk taking and suicide. Then we also have sexual and reproductive effects. For example, it could lead into pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, complications during pregnancy and delivery, and so many other things. So we see that what kind of impact that gender-based violence can cause girls and women. Of course leads into the impact it will have on their education, on their ability to do a job, the economic impact. And then of course, as a community, what kind of impact, if a family member is suffering from something like that, what kind of impact it could have in that family, and then the community. And then of course, as a country, what kind of costs and lower productivity we will have to face. So gender-based violence is such an issue that actually have so many consequences and impacts and effects. So I think it's important for us to understand that, and then see the gravity of this issue, and see what as responsible people that we could speak out and take action on this issue. So over to you, Satya, to interpret that in Hindi.
Okay, so we have Jyoti ma'am also with us. So let's hear from her what she has to say in this context.
जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस के कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस को यदि हम देखें तो इसमें फिजिकल, साइकोलॉजिकल, सेक्सुअल, रिप्रोडक्टिव इफेक्ट्स, एजुकेशन इफेक्ट, इकोनॉमिक इफेक्ट्स, जिनके बारे में चामाचा मैम ने अभी हमें बताया। फिजिकल इफेक्ट्स जैसे हम देखते हैं डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस, घरेलू हिंसा में और साइकोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट जैसे इमोशनली कोई इमोशनली हरेस करना, जैसे कोई व्यक्ति डिप्रेशन में चला जाए, लाइक दैट। सेक्सुअल एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव इफेक्ट्स जैसे
I guess Jyoti ma'am has some technical issues. So definitely I'll go ahead with it. So as it is clearly seen in the screen, physical effects, psychological effects, sexual and reproductive effects, education effects, economic and national cost. So these are like self-explanatory.
National cost, that means countries, when
Okay, Nefli ma'am, let's move on to the next.
Yes, yeah. Nefli, I think the next question is for you. And I think now we have a kind of an understanding of what the issue is and what causes, what consequences we have from the issue. Now we would like to ask from you, what are we as the largest voluntary organization for girls and young women are doing to speak out and take action? I'm sure our viewers would like to know about the Global Advocacy Campaign and how this all came about. Tell us a little bit about, about the campaign and its key pillars and what you want to share about it. Yeah.
Right. So all of our activities and programs fall within 4 broad areas of social change. And that contributes to our global vision that all girls and young women are being valued of taking action to change the world. So in our model of empowerment, we are enabling girls agencies by providing skills, tools, training, and resources for girls and to learn, lead, speak out, and engage in their community to take action. So what does this mean? So the Stop the Violence campaign is the World Association of Girl Guides and Girls, and how we are doing this basically is one way is through the Stop the Violence campaign. So it's the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts global flagship campaign to end violence against women and girls. So this campaign works towards a world where girls and young women live free from violence and the threat of violence, where they are informed and they are empowered to claim their rights. So a world where these rights are recognized by everyone. So young women take the lead in changing the global conversation on gender-based violence and act as advocates, leaders, and agents of change in their communities. The campaign reaches out across the world, empowering and educating girls and young women to understand their rights and giving them the skills to claim those rights. So why did we do this? So because girls told us that it's important. So back in 2011, the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts ran a global consultation across the world. They asked the girls, what is more important for you? The girls responded across the world and they said, we care about three things. The one thing is about we want to feel safe. Second thing is that we want to feel confident in our bodies. And the third thing is that we care for the environment and climate change. So WAGS responded in these requests in terms of caring about the environment and climate change. We participate in many international events. We have now also a badge and a curriculum coming up on climate change. In terms of body confidence and self-esteem, we partnered with Dove, and I know that you already have a webinar on that with Free Being Me and Action on Body Confidence. And then in terms of feeling girls safe, we created the Stop the Violence campaign. So in 2011, we launched a campaign that works globally in ending violence against women and girls. So because another reason why, because we feel that we know that education is the key. Education is a key in addressing violence against girls. By empowering girls and young women to take the lead in asserting their rights, you create a powerful force for transformation. By challenging gender stereotypes and reaching boys and young men through non-formal education, you challenge the root cause of violence. And remember, we saw the root, remember the tree and the root causes and how these create violence for girls and young women. So as experts in non-formal education, we have experience in making big subjects and complex topics accessible to our audience, to our young audience. And finally, because girls told us that we believe girls are the solution. So this campaign is not about adults or men stopping violence against girls on behalf of girls. This campaign, it's about empowering girls and young women to be drivers of change, while recognizing that it's never a girl's only responsibility to end violence it faces. Instead, it is saying that girls are more than victims, they're actually initiators of change. So they're the ones that are holding the future in their own hands, and the leaders, and they are leaders of change within their communities. So Stop the Violence has 5 components, and it launched, as we said, in 2011, and is working towards the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls. We are doing this through awareness raising, education, policy and research, lobbying, and community action. So we said also, I don't know if you remember that one of the reasons that we have violence and the causes is because people are not aware about that. And we find that many of our member organizations are focusing on awareness raising. So to stop violence and community engagement. So how are they doing it? So in order to stop violence against women and girls. We must expose violence in all forms and condemn it, speak out about our experience and support the victims. So through conversation, engaging in community action, protesting, petitions, media engagement, social media, and in lots of other ways, Girl Guides and Girl Scouting are raising awareness about the dangers and women face, the need for change in attitudes and behaviors, and they are calling for the communities to join them in taking action. We are doing it through education and the Voice Against Violence curriculum, which is a way of, which is what has been created in partnership with UN Women. So WACS developed the Voice Against Violence curriculum, a co-educational for boys and girls that can be used from ages 5 to 25 through age-appropriate educational activities such as role play, discussion, and games. Participants are supported to explore the root causes of violence against women, girls, and challenge harmful gender stereotypes and social norms. We're doing it through policy and research. So girls are attending the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women and other international events where girls speak with decision makers and influence policy, but also present research that they have. We are doing it through lobbying. Girl Guides and Girl Scouting are lobbying in those international spaces decision makers and have the power to stop those decision makers that have the power to stop violence by speaking out about their experience. And as we said also, and also to calling them to change laws and policies to protect and demanding that perpetrators are prosecuted for their actions. And I will stop here. Please continue.
Sure, thank you, Nefli ma'am. So, जैसे कि मैं शुरुआत में मैंने बताया आप लोगों को कि स्टॉप द वायलेंस कार्यक्रम वैक्स के द्वारा जो इनिशिएटिव है, क्यों उन्होंने इनिशिएटिव लिया है, मैं फिर से एक बार दोहराना चाहता हूं कि स्टॉप द वायलेंस लड़कियों और महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा को खत्म करने के लिए वैक्स वैश्विक अभियान है। यह अभियान एक ऐसी दुनिया की ओर काम करता है जहां लड़कियों और युवतियों को हिंसा और हिंसा के खतरे से मुक्त रहते हैं, जहां उन्हें सूचित किया जाता है और उन्हें उनके अधिकारों का दावा करने का अधिकार दिया जाता है। एक ऐसी दुनिया जहां इन अधिकारों को सभी द्वारा मान्यता प्राप्त है। लिंग आधारित हिंसा और वैश्विक बातचीत को बदलने के लिए युवा महिलाएं आगे आती है और अधिकर्ताओं, नेताओं और अपने समुदायों में बदलाव के एजेंटों के रूप में कार्य करती है। अभियान दुनिया भर में पहुंचता है, लड़कियों और युवा महिलाओं को उनके अधिकारों को समझने और उन्हें शिक्षित और उन अधिकारों का दावा करने का कौशल देने के लिए शिक्षित करता है। हम ऐसा क्या करते हैं, यानी कि वैक्स ऐसा क्या करती है? क्योंकि लड़कियों ने हमें बताया है महत्वपूर्ण है। लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा का मुद्दा लड़कियों और युवा महिलाओं द्वारा हमारे सामने उठाया गया है, क्योंकि जिस मुद्दे पर ये कार्रवाई करना चाहते थे, उसके बाद क्योंकि शिक्षा प्रमुख है, एजुकेशन इज द की। लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा का संबोधित करने में शिक्षा महत्वपूर्ण है। लड़कियों और युवा महिलाओं को सशक्त बनाने के द्वारा उनके अधिकारों को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए आप परिवर्तन के लिए एक शक्तिशाली शक्ति का निर्माण करें। गैर औपचारिक शिक्षा के माध्यम से लिंग रूढ़ियों को चुनौती देने और लड़कों और नौजवानों तक पहुंचने से आप हिंसा के मूल कारणों को चुनौती देते हैं। गैर औपचारिक शिक्षा में विशेषज्ञ के रूप में हमारे पास युवा दर्शकों के लिए विशेषों के सुलभ बनाने का अनुभव है। और एक कारण है क्योंकि लड़कियां ही इसका हल है। जैसे मैडम ने ऑलरेडी कहा हमें दैट गर्ल्स देमसेल्फ आर द रीजन फॉर द चेंज, क्योंकि लड़कियां ही इसका कारण है और या फिर हल है। यह अभियान बॉयज को या लड़कियों की ओर से लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा को रोकने के बारे में नहीं है। यह लड़कियों और युवा महिलाओं को परिवर्तन के वाहक बनने के लिए सशक्त बनाने के बारे में है, जबकि यह मानते हुए कि हिंसा का सामना करने वाली लड़कियों को समाप्त करना कभी भी लड़की की जिम्मेदारी नहीं है। इसके बजाय यह कह रहा है कि लड़कियां सिर्फ पीड़ितों से अधिक है, वे परिवर्तन के एजेंट भी है। वे अपने स्वयं का वायदा करने वाले और अपने समुदाय के भीतर परिवर्तन में अगुवा है। बाल विवाह सहित लिंग आधारित हिंसा कई देशों में एक संवेदनशील विषय है, इसीलिए इन मुद्दों पर अभियानों के लिए विशेष रूप से महत्वपूर्ण की है सदस्यों द्वारा पहचानी गई जरूरतें के जवाब में राष्ट्रीय संगठनों द्वारा संचालित और नेतृत्व किया जाए। हमारे वैश्विक स्टॉप द वायलेंस अभियान अपने सभी रूपों में हिंसा को समाप्त करने के लिए व्यापक रूपरेखा प्रदान करता है, लेकिन एमओ के लिए हमारे निरंतर समर्थन यह सुनिश्चित करने से मदद करता है कि राष्ट्रीय अभियान की जरूरत है और लड़की के नेतृत्व वाली है। थैंक यू। Thank you, Nefli ma'am.
Sorry, I was muting myself. So, Samatya, we heard a bit about the Stop the Violence campaign and how the different components of the campaign and how it's delivered globally. I also wanted to mention that here is a map of the impact of the campaign. So in those different countries, it has seen our member organizations participating with Stop the Violence campaign. So a question for you is, as the Stop the Violence facilitator, you have been involved with in the campaign from the very, very start. And can you share a bit more about this Stop the Violence journey and a bit more about Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and some common opportunities, but also challenges that you found as you were implementing the campaign?
Thanks, Nefli. And I would request you to go to the previous slide and leave it so viewers will understand when I go through the pillars a little bit more better. So if we could leave it in the previous slide with the, yes, thank you. So I mean, speaking about the campaign and how we started in Sri Lanka, back in 2013, we were trained on the campaign toolkit, and then of course on the Voices Against Violence curriculum, which is the non-formal educational curriculum that we use as under the education pillar. And we started off as an awareness raising campaign. If you look at the first pillar, we primarily target on awareness raising when we initially started, because, of course, we know that Girl Guides are a charity organization and we do not have that resources and funding to start off with. So we started at a very local level and then moved to provincial, to district, to provincial, then to national. So it was like a step-by-step process, because overnight we cannot build a national campaign. And I think anybody who's going to start something will need to understand, with the limited resources we have, we also need to find the best opportunities we could find within that. For example, when we did our initial campaign, we had around 6,000 rupees, Sri Lankan rupees, which is around, I think, around 3,000 Indian rupees. So it was such a minimal amount, but hello, can you hear me? Nesri, can you hear me?
We lost you for a moment, but we are hearing you. We can hear you.
Yeah, so we started with such little amounts of funds, and then but we also looked at, if we do something small, but what the impact of our action could have on people. So we were more focused on the impact that, even if we took little actions, but what the impact it could create. And then we started with awareness raising campaigns, we started with walks, we started with poster campaigns, we started with doing pledges. We were collecting pledges at public spaces like the central bus stand, the central railway station. We were raising our voices there so that public was able to also engage in the conversation, at least put tap into them to start the conversation about this. So we started off with the awareness raising, and of course we went on to the educational component, where we trained 65 adult leaders nationally on the curriculum in all 3 languages, to go out and deliver the curriculum to everyone, all the girls. And of course, we also worked with the Parliament of Sri Lanka, and then, on policy and on research, and we did our lobbying with that. And then our leaders in the 25 districts and the 9 provinces actually started on their community action. They engaged the girls. And you see that in Sri Lanka, we were able to kind of reach around 10,000 children, young people and adults, teachers, parents, everyone in the campaign, in sharing our awareness and education to them on gender-based violence, and how can we prevent that in our communities. As time went by, we were also invited to go to Bangladesh Girl Guides and train their leaders on Stop the Violence campaign and the Voices Against Violence curriculum. And the important thing was that it was a member organization to member organization reached out project. And we initiated the campaign in Bangladesh and trained their leaders from the 10 regions there. And it's very gratifying and satisfying to see that they are also working very hard to further, share this education with their girls and young women. And the kind of involvement and the work that they are doing in Bangladesh, as well as we are doing in Sri Lanka, to further this knowledge, and also include this content even in our other work that we are doing, because gender is such a cross-cutting and area that we need to mainstream it across all the work that we do within the Girl Guides. And we need to also sensitize our own leaders about the issue, and to be able to be sensitive toward this issue, because the thing is that we cannot blame anybody, because we have been brought up in such households and upbringing in the society, because these thinking, these stereotypes are inbuilt. So it takes time to change the attitudes and behavior of people. But we have been able to reach out to these leaders and sensitize them on this topic, and also sometimes the decision makers, the politicians, the teachers that we deal with, we see that kind of friction, because again, this is a sensitive topic, especially in Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or India. I think it's common, and it's very sensitive when we speak about this topic. So it's with a lot of balance and ability to kind of negotiate and make them understand with facts, with busting myths and breaking stereotypes, that we should be able to make them also understand the importance of this issue. Having said that, I'm sure y'all might probably have so many questions about how did y'all do all these projects with the lack of resources and all of that. But I think it's about the passion your inclination to do something about the issue, that kind of drives you. Because I'm sure there will be a lot of challenges and questions that might come into your heads when you think about, how do we do something? How do we do a project? How do we do a campaign about this? But it's about, finding somehow the opportunities and the resources you have, reaching out to stakeholders. Maybe in your community, there might be a small business organization, a grocery store that might be able to help you with, resources, not just monetary, but like, they can maybe give you the venue to do the workshop. Some might give you the refreshment for the participants. So look at different ways that you can do something. And I think what's the importance is that you take action, and also get the help from everybody else to be involved in this. And I think also when it comes to India, one powerful tool you'll have is your content in terms of media and your ability to tell stories. And I think it's a powerful tool you'll have, your sensitivity towards bringing these human stories. And I think that's a tool that definitely BSG could use to take this message and this content out there, not just limiting to BSG, but to everybody. So I just shared a little bit of how this, how our work and our projects when it comes to Stop the Violence campaign worked with Sri Lanka and then also with Bangladesh Girl Guides. Now over to you, Satya or Jyoti, to give a little bit of interpretation into what I just shared.
Yes, I would request Jyoti ma'am to share her thoughts.
चामथिया मैम ने हमें लीडर्स हमें बताया कि कैसे उन्होंने श्रीलंका और बांग्लादेश में इस स्टॉप द वायलेंस कैंपेन की शुरुआत की। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल उन्होंने अपनी ट्रेनिंग के पश्चात अपने कंट्री में अडल्ट लीडर्स का एक ट्रेनिंग प्लान बनाया और उसके अंदर उन्होंने अपनी एक ट्रेनिंग टीम तैयार की जिसमें उन्होंने अबाउट 65 ट्रेनर्स को ट्रेनिंग दी है। एंड देन जो लीडर्स ट्रेनर्स थे उन्होंने अपने क्षेत्र में स्टॉप द वायलेंस की कैंपेन शुरू की और अपने समुदाय के लोगों को इससे जोड़ा। इस प्रकार उन्होंने चेन सिस्टम के माध्यम से अपने स्थान पर इस कैंपेन की शुरुआत की है। इसके बाद में उन्होंने बांग्लादेश में भी एक स्टॉप द वायलेंस कैंपेन की शुरुआत की, जिसमें उन्होंने बांग्लादेश के लीडर्स को प्रशिक्षण दिया और वो लीडर ट्रेनर्स अभी बांग्लादेश में इसे प्रसारित कर रहे हैं।
Thank you, Jyoti, for that interpretation. And then now, Nefli, moving on to almost the last stages of it. We would we just commemorate the International Day of the Girl Child on October 11th, and now we are heading towards the 16 days of activism, starting from 25th November till 10th December. What are our plans as WAGS, a global organization, to commemorate these days and to bring out our messaging around that? How can we be involved, and what is the importance of this campaign? Please share a little bit about that, explaining maybe an activity that participants and our viewers can find in the activity pack and where they could find the activity pack. So I think you will be able to explain a little bit on that. Over to you.
Yes. So thank you so much. So first of all, let me share a bit of information about 16 days of activism. So 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. It's an annual global campaign calling for an end to end violence against women and girls. So this annual campaign begins worldwide from the 25th of November, which is International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women. And it finishes on Human Rights Day on the 10th of December. And this links also that women free from violence is also a human right. Orange is the official color of 16 days, and each year WAGS runs its own campaign to raise awareness. So this year we stand in solidarity with all women and girls that have experienced victim blaming. Victim blaming is when a victim of a crime or of other wrongdoing is held entirely or partially responsible for what has been done to them. Girls and women often blame when they experience violence, although they are victims. Victim blaming and shaming of women and girls not only result in silencing women and girls experiencing violence, but also reinforces the perpetrator power and control and allows them to continue abusive criminal behavior without consequences and punishment. So in terms of victim blaming, we have been also hearing, so the 16 Days of Activism campaign is about victim blaming, and the hashtag that we are going to use is not her fault, because it's not the girl's fault for any violence that she has suffered. And despite that, we see victim blaming is never her fault. So it's very important to address this. Some examples of victim blaming that might sound familiar for you. Especially now also in lockdown, we've seen many girls being attacked and even murdered because they went out during the lockdown. So some quotes, and please let me know if you have heard them as well. And she shouldn't have broken curfew or the lockdown. She was out late by herself, as if it is an excuse to be attacked. When you wear clothes like that, you are what you expect. So no, not any clothes. It's an invitation for rape or any harassment. If it was that bad, why didn't she leave? So people froze with fear, or many other cases, or she might have been more hurt if she left. So these are another quote. If it really happened, why didn't she say something sooner? So in many cases, as we said, women know that they won't have the service, the support, the perpetrator won't be evicted, so or they are just traumatized by this, so they're not speaking out and disclosing their experience. She doesn't look hurt, I see no cuts and bruises. So if a girl is not being hurt, as we said, this is no excuse. She might have suffered emotional violence, she might have suffered psychological violence, financial violence. So there are many other forms of violence that we might not see, but they are there. She could have put a fight. That's another very common, she should have put a fight, like she should have resisted. Again, how many times we have so surprised and frightened that we froze from fear. She shouldn't have gone out without her brother or her father or her husband. So, those societies and cultures that require a woman to go out in the moments with her husband, it's a property of their male family and intimate partner. So, on the other, because she's going out, she's excused for being harassed or even hurt. So these are some examples that you might have heard. I don't know if you agree, and if it is something also relevant for India. But from our facilitators working around the world, they have told us that it is. So that's why this year's 16 Days of Activism theme is about victim blaming. Would you like to do the interpretation and some information now before I move to the activity?
जेंडर आधारित हिंसा के खिलाफ 16 दिनों की सक्रियता। महिलाओं और लड़कियों के खिलाफ हिंसा को समाप्त करने के लिए एक वार्षिक अभियान है। वार्षिक अभियान 25 नवंबर से शुरू होता है, जो महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा के उन्मूलन का अंतर्राष्ट्रीय दिवस है। यह मानवाधिकार दिवस 10 दिसंबर को समाप्त होता है और इन 16 दिनों का आधिकारिक रंग है। जागरूकता बढ़ाने के लिए हर साल वैक्स अपना अभियान चलाता है। इस वर्ष हम सभी लड़कियों और महिलाओं के साथ एकजुटता में खड़े हैं, जिन्होंने पीड़ित को दोष देने का अनुभव किया है। पीड़ित दोष तब होता है जब किसी अपराध या अन्य गलत काम का शिकार पूरी तरह से या आंशिक रूप से उनके लिए जो किया गया है उसके लिए जिम्मेदार ठहराया जाता है। लड़कियों और महिलाओं को अक्सर हिंसा का अनुभव होने पर दोषी ठहराया जाता है, हालांकि वे पीड़ित होती है। महिलाओं और लड़कियों को दोषी ठहराने और उन्हें शर्मसार करने के परिणाम स्वरूप न केवल हिंसा का सामना करने वाली महिलाओं और लड़कियों को चुप कराया जाता है, बल्कि अपराधियों की शक्तियों और नियंत्रण को भी मजबूत किया जाता है और इन्हें परिणामों या दंड के बिना अपमानजनक आपराधिक व्यवहार जारी रखने की अनुमति मिलती है। महामारी और उसके बाद के लॉकडाउन के परिणाम स्वरूप लड़कियों और महिलाओं के खिलाफ हिंसा में वृद्धि के साथ महिलाओं और लड़कियों के अपराधियों के साथ घर पर बंद कर दिया गया है और उन स्थानों पर नेविगेट कर रहे हैं जो उनके लिए और भी असुरक्षित हो गए। अर्जेंटीना में यद्यपि हालिया उदाहरण हमारे सदस्यों से मिले हैं, जिन्होंने रिपोर्ट किया है कि मार्च से युगांडा में महिलाओं की हत्या कर दी गई। तालाबंदी के परिणाम स्वरूप कई लड़कियों को घर भेज दिया गया है और जल्दी शादी बाल श्रम में मजबूर हो गई है। और फिलीपींस में की खपत में नाटकीय वृद्धि हुई है और 15 साल की लड़कियों के बलात्कार और हत्या के कम से कम 2 मामले सामने आए हैं। ये कुछ उदाहरण हैं जो बालिका हिंसा के बारे में बताते हैं।
Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. Yes, Nefli.
Okay. All right. So 16 Days of Activism, as we said, is about victim blaming. So we will do an activity of the park, and you are in this unique opportunity of experiencing it as we are currently developing it, and we will be able to share it in the beginning of November. We will ask everyone to take a piece of paper and a pen. So do you want to interpret as I speak?
Yes, that's fine. सभी को जैसे कि नेफली मैम ने कहा है, एक पेपर और पेन लीजिए, जो एक्टिविटी वो बोलने जा रही है, अभी वो वही एक्टिविटी हम साथ ही साथ करेंगे। तो एक पेपर और पेन ले लीजिए आप लोग।
And then put your hand on top of the paper like that. Open your palm on the paper. Not the hand that you are writing, the other hand. So put the hand over your paper and then take your pen and start drawing around the hand. Your palms are layout.
एक पेपर लीजिए, जिस हाथ से आप चित्र बनाएंगे दूसरे हाथ से उसको वो उसके नीचे रखिए और अपना हाथ ड्रॉ कीजिए.
So you can take your hand. So to draw you're just using on top. So you put the palm and then you're drawing on top of your hand like that, like this here.
आपके हाथ का पंजा बनाना है पेपर पर.
So we said that violence can happen in many ways, in different forms, and it's very important to have a support system and people that are around, that you know, people that are around you and can be next to you in case this happens. So, so in this, as you put your hand in the paper and you draw the outline, now use the fingers, and in each finger you write the name and a contact number of the person that you feel that can be next to you and support you. It could be someone that you know that it is in your family, it could be a very close friend, or it could be a service for victims of violence that you know, or you can Google now that, you know, search online or search through the school. Is there anyone who supports victims and people that have been hurt by violence? So take some time, and in each finger you write the name and the contact of the person who can support you. So this activity is to start mapping out people that are here to support and understand that it's in many cases not anyone's, and it's not a girl's fault if she experienced violence. And this is just a small sample activity to know that we have around us people that can support us, and in case we need them, we have at least 5 names of people that we can call and ask for the help. I think it's also important that one of these 5 names that you put is a service that you know that is offered around your community for victims of violence, because it's also very helpful to know. And sometimes, you know, it might not be you, or it might be a friend that you need to refer to. And we do encourage to do these activities also with, if you have young leaders joining with your Girl Guides and Boy Scouts, just make sure that they have a system of support around them. So I think that's all from just a snapshot. So you're very lucky to have experienced an activity that hasn't been even launched. So thank you so much for joining. I don't know if there is anything you'd like to also interpret as I finish speaking.
Okay. So I guess we are done with the show, right? Nefli ma'am?
Yes, we have.
Uh,
Sorry, just want to say on behalf of the World Association of Girl Guides, Tamatha, which is a former World Board member and Stop the Violence facilitator myself. We really thank you for joining us in this presentation. We do invite you to come to our website, www.wags.org, to get more information about the Stop the Violence campaign. So all information is there. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I think thank you very much and for inviting us for the session. Unfortunately, I think my connection was dropping and I was randomly kicked out of Zoom because I was recently, tested positive for COVID and right now in the hospital. But didn't want to miss this because I was also looking forward to this session, and I think BSG has the power to influence so many lives, especially young lives, with this education and awareness. And I think it's critical that as a voluntary organization that you be able to take this information and educate more people, and then of course it is going to go for their families, their friends, and as a community you're able to make change. So thank you very much, and apologies in case if there were any disturbances in my volume, and sorry for that, but definitely it was a very interesting session, and thank you for inviting us. And like Nefli said, feel free to reach out. We're always there to help out. And I'm even happy to share some of the project proposals and things that I have in Sri Lanka, because I just only shared a very quick brief overview of what we did, but happy to help out if you all are interested in doing those projects. So thank you. Over to you, Satya.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shamatya ma'am and Nefli ma'am. So we'll be moving ahead with the Q&A shortly. We are already seeing questions coming up from the participants. So I would now like to hand over the screen to Monisha. Monisha?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Manoj Singh has raised their hand. Manoj Singh, are you there?
Yes.
Yes,
Hello,
you can
ma'am.
shoot out the question.
Good afternoon, ma'am. And my question is there any relationship between Stop the Violence campaign and SDG goal number gender equality, goal number 5, gender equality?
Tamatha, do you want to respond?
Sorry, Nefli, I didn't hear the question because the connection isn't that strong. Can you repeat the question?
Can I repeat my
between SDG 5 and Stop the Violence campaign, because it's your area of expertise, that's why.
Yeah, so basically, as you all know, that the UN had the Millennium Development Goals, and goal number 3 was on achieving gender equality and empowerment of girls and women. And then, of course, we moved on to the Sustainable Development Goals, again with goal number 5 on gender equality and empowerment of girls and women. And I think what's important for us to see is that this is one goal that really needed more attention, and also the kind of analysis that they've done on data, that they say that we would take even more than I think 100 years to achieve gender equality. But we can't, and we don't want to stay as long. We need to act now. We need to achieve it now. So I feel that how the Stop the Violence campaign is going to help this whole process is because, as a voluntary organization that primarily works directly with girls and young women, we are building a whole new generation with this kind of education and awareness. They will be more sensitive towards gender inequality. They will be more sensitive towards busting myths and breaking stereotypes. And not only just girls and young women, we are also now involving boys and young men. So which means that we will have a generation of young people who will be more aware, more educated about this issue. And they are going to find the solution. They are going to speak out and take action. So this campaign is going to really assist the UN, the governments, and community as a whole to achieve that goal of achieving gender equality and empowerment of girls and young women. I mean, not just young women, but women overall. So I think there is definitely a huge connection between that, and also our action and our voices, the action we take and the voices we use to empower more girls and women will really enable us to achieve that. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Maybe Nefel, you might want to add something to that as well.
Oh, I think it was perfect. Thanks. So yes, and we are participating. We are working towards completing Sustainable Development Goal 5 by delivering the work across, as we said, in 17 countries, 70 plus member organizations are participating in the Stop the Violence campaign, as well as participating in international events such as the United Nations Commission of the Status of Women, the Gender Equality Forum, so the other spaces where we bring the voices of girls and young women in those spaces. So through the program, such as the 16 Days of Activism, we are having You Report polls, which is I'm sure you've heard it, but it's a social platform of making sure that we get directly data from young people. So we're asking questions through Facebook chats or other social media chats, and where we ask questions, and we are linked with thousands and thousands of people around the world that are giving us data. So we're using this tool and other tools to bring the voices and information to decision makers in order to enhance the laws and to work together in order to achieve gender equality.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I can see Anusha. Anusha, you can shoot out your question to the speakers.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My question is, what is the proportionate increase or decrease in violence with increase or decrease in gender equality?
Okay, so this actually, there is lots of papers that so I cannot tell you by heart the proportion, but we know that there is a big correlation between gender equality and also gender equality. It's not, there is an index worldwide that it counts, and it's, so there is violence, it's one aspect of gender equality, women being in decision maker positions in another indicator for gender equality, women earning as much as men is another indicator. So there are many indicators, but there is definitely a correlation. And we can maybe share more information about a specific ratio or about this later on.
And I think if you remember, I think Nefli shared a slide about the cycle that, when there's gender inequality, we have gender-based violence, and then, gender-based violence again kind of impacts or effect in gender inequality. And I think, like Nefli said, what's important is to identify that, when there's gender inequality, it does not only cause gender-based violence, but there are so many other issues such as lack of equal opportunities for girls and women, whether it be education, whether it be employment, whether it be in their public spaces. So it's not only just causing gender-based violence, but there are so many other impacts of having inequality in the world. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. And now I could see Abrar. Abrar, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. So yeah, while hearing to so many things, and finally, I think we end up combining all the things, saying that everything is interlinked. And I also saw something in the chat box where our executive director also mentioned that the SDGs itself are linked with each other. So my question is, since we have been talking more about Stop the Violence, in the Southeast Asian countries, how has been the impact of this initiative, ma'am? Because we have been seeing, we are communicating with so many youngsters. So what do you find as a result ultimately?
Nefli, do you want me to go, or you will?
Yeah, please start, and then I can add anything.
Yes. Speaking specifically of South Asian countries, and I can speak for Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, because I have been directly taking them, like both the associations, through the whole campaign. And I feel, specifically speaking of the initiatives that we took and the projects we did, is one thing, like I said earlier, is that it's not an overnight process. We give this education to them today, and then tomorrow we have like people who are thinking equally and acting equally. It's a process of doing these sessions and education over time, and looking at how their attitudes and behavior were before that, and then also monitor them and evaluate how it is afterwards. So if I take a specific example of the Voices Against Violence curriculum, which is a more age appropriate curriculum that is for for the age groups of 5 to 7, 8 to 12, and then likewise. And then you see that when you do these activities, we always do a pre and post evaluation to see how they have been looking at gender and gender inequality and violence. And then after the sessions, because we do these activities in 6 steps, and then we see what they are understanding, how it changed, how their attitudes changed, how their behavior changed, and then we identify whether there has been a certain change in their attitudes and behavior towards the issue. So I think, fortunately, when we take them through this this process, what we have identified is that there has been, not only in boys, but also especially even in girls, we have seen that, because like I said earlier, we are brought up in such conditioning from the society, from the families, that with these inbuilt stereotypes, and to break them, we actually have to take them through them, give them facts, bust those myths that they have in them already, and then to see what kind of response they would have towards this issue. So I think I can speak for both Sri Lanka Girl Guides and Bangladesh Girl Guides, is that we have seen that change in attitudes and behavior towards the adult leaders that we trained. And then the response that we received from the adult leaders is that they also identified that change in their, when they go and roll out this curriculum with their girls and young women, they also have identified them understanding the issue better, them responding to it, them actually speaking out. It's not only about us taking this information to the community, but it's also about the change that is happening within you. So for example, if I was somebody who was afraid and shy to speak out in the bus when somebody is touching me in an uncomfortable way, if I didn't know that he's violating my basic rights, then now after going through the sessions, now she's more aware, more confident, is able to speak out and take action to say no to it, to stop it. So I think that's the kind of impact that we've identified, and it's not only quantitative but mostly qualitative kind of change.
Yeah. And just to add, thank you so much, Samadhya. So it's these pre and post evaluations that we are changing through the Voice Against Violence curriculum, these perceptions of how men and women need to be and these roles, and by changing this in really young age, we can see also change in their lives, when children are going up to become women and men. And we have just this type of data that we have seen change in perceptions. Another example, and we're sorry because we know that we have been a bit squeezed with time, we haven't had the chance, and it's a very good question in terms of impact. So impact, and especially when we are talking about education, behavioral change, and also advocacy, like speaking out for the girls' rights, it takes time. It's not always like from, look, we want to change the law and then it changes, or we want to strengthen the law and we want to increase this decision maker, and the moment we talk to him, it happens. So it takes time. An example that you might have seen also in our social media, and it comes also from the region, is from Malaysia, that they started working back in 2015, working with the Voice Against Violence curriculum, and they have been delivering this curriculum in schools, communities, and among also girls and boys. And in 2018, following the widely publicized marriage of an 11-year-old girl with a 41-year-old man, the Malaysian Girl Guides launched their No Brides Under 18 campaign, calling to end all child marriage in Malaysia. So since the launch of the No Brides Under 18, which is also the hashtag, UNICEF have partnered with the Malaysian Girl Guides Association in order to demand a country where no girls are subject to violence. Malaysia Girl Guides Association have never done an action like this, but it was the right moment with the right support internally from the organization and also externally from WAGS. We delivered the workshop for them, and they managed to do a petition and speaking out also outside of the parliament, where they managed to give the petition to the deputy ministers, the prime minister's department. And since then, the law has been revised in 4 states of Malaysia, and they actually outlaw child marriage, which is a very, very impressive result of the Stop the Violence national advocacy campaign.
Well, that is quite an impact we have all got some information about. Thank you so much.
I think Anusha, you raised your hand again.
My question is, India is a patriarchal society. Even working women has less spending power compared to men. Do you think this is also a form of violence too, ma'am?
Amartya, did you hear the question? Do you want to respond?
Sorry, Neflia. Sorry again. In my hospital, the internet isn't that strong. So it was about whether, not earning, right, equally, is it form of violence, right? Okay. So basically, I think when we speak about gender-based violence, primarily we found, I think, that the types of violence that Nefeli shared, domestic violence, sexual abuse, grave sexual violence, female genital mutilation, these 10 forms of violence as gender-based violence. But like I said, gender inequality is a more vast area, because for that we definitely have the lack of equal opportunities for education, because we know that when it comes to education, there are more boys in schools than girls, and the disparity between them, and then the lack of equal opportunities for men and women for job opportunities. If a woman and a man goes for the same job interview, if the man is preferred more than the woman, because of thinking that other gender stereotyping that they have in their heads about, like, she's going to get married, then she's going to get a child, then it's more trouble for the company. That man is preferred on the basis of gender, then that's gender inequality. If a man is getting paid more for the same job, for the same contribution, for the same kind of effort that is put, and then also if both are performing in the same way, then it's gender inequality. So yes, it could be the impact of it could be a more psychological, and also impact of it could be also as same as when we face a form of violence. but I feel that it primarily falls under being faced by gender inequality. And then, you know, if that person is faced for further kind of harassment or violence within the workspace, I think that falls more under violence. But it's primarily a gender inequality kind of impact of that you know, that you don't get the same kind of compensation because of your gender, or you're being discriminated based on your gender and not having the same kind of compensation so as to a male that's in the same position. Over to you, Nefali.
Yes, as I think is very well said, that it's a form of gender inequality. So for different reasons that we saw, that we heard already in the conversation, we know that girls are discriminated in terms of their earnings. So women and girls that doing, men, especially women, that is the same work as men, are earning less. And this is because there are the societal norms that are created to give more power to men, very simplistically saying. But I think yes, and there are many issues depending on the culture and the situation that allow this to happen. So yes, thank you, Chamathia. So you offered a very complete reply.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I think Pushpanjali. Pushpanjali is there. Ma'am, you can ask your question. Kindly unmute your mic. Ma'am, please kindly unmute your mic. It's not audible. Ma'am, kindly unmute your mic, ma'am. It's not audible. I think there's been some kind of internet problem. So I think that's all for the questions.
Yes, Monisha. Yeah, you can proceed.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Nefali ma'am, Chamathia ma'am, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We learned so much about, yes, ma'am. We learned so much about Stop the Violence campaign and the AGWORK SE2. In despite of your difficult situation, you have been there. Thank you so much for that. We are so honored, ma'am. Thank you so much. Moving on.
Thank you very much for inviting us and giving us this space. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to call upon Razia Begum, ma'am, Commissioner of Headquarters, Public Relation, Bharat Scouts and Guides. She is a Deputy Director, Education in Delhi, Assistant Commissioner in KVS, Kolkata and Varanasi. She's a Principal in JNU, Jahoba, Uttar Pradesh. She worked with many students for gender equality and empowerment. And she's also an active member in the BSG. It's my honor and privilege to introduce ma'am. Please share some word to the gathering. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Monisha, for calling me. It was a very nice workshop, and I think all the women in India, they are suffering one or the other way, but nobody dares to speak about it. And definitely when I was just reminded of so many things, whether it is Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or India, we share common entities. And when we talk of India, southern states, northern state, northeastern states, I think I have visited almost every part of India. And I think when I start my journey with South in Chennai, I was in class 5. That time I used to see a lady coming to my house, roaming about selling something, and lunchtime she used to sit and read the newspaper. That is, I think, long back, 2000. 1990s, I think. After that, when I went to Rajasthan, I saw child marriages, and the way even the employed teachers of my batch, they were just talking, yes, Akha Teej is there, now we will have to celebrate the child marriages. Then I used to wonder, how can they do this? They said, yes, our own marriages were like that. Then when we talk about literacy now, due to COVID, it is drastically bringing down the literacy rate in females now. I'm in Delhi, and I'm seeing the dropout cases are increasing. We have not seen our children also, and they are not able to afford the money for even paying CBSE boards for class 10th and 12th. Similarly, if you look at, we used to distribute hygiene, menstrual these things. Now they are not getting it. So I think their health is in very hazardous situation. Similarly, when you talk about disabled child, Divyang children, the girls are most affected. Their security is a big problem right now, and nobody dares to speak about it. Home violence, domestic violence, the girls are not safe. They're not safe in their own homes, in their own families. So the situation is becoming alarming because the people are moving out of villages. They don't share now common things. And the people who are just migrating, they don't dare to share the things. And so the girls are not allowed even to speak. So we have to first make them learn that they are sufferers, and then we have to connect with them. Advocacy is secondary. Now it has taken a back seat because you can see so many situations, what is happening in Hathras, what happened in Jammu Kashmir, Katwa, all that stories, they bring so much insecurity. So we are actually in Delhi government, we are going with counseling services, and we have got special educators. So they're doing wonderful job. They are connected with the children. Same thing in many Navodayas and in KVs also. The children are getting counseling services, and special educators are there who are able to cater their needs. But we have to teach them, we have to empower them by bringing the things. Whatever we are sharing today was going on, but I think due to media and so many things, now we are coming on one platform, sharing what they are having the problems, and it's a very good sign. And even the drug abuse, due to all this violence, the girls are, whether you take girls or boys, both are having problems, but we have to make them work together in the field for gender equality. So it was a very nice discussion, and I think we are discussing at global level, and we have to see our local levels also, because everywhere there is casteism, there are regionalism, there's so many factors which are responsible for this inequality. And the girl was telling about whether we have empowered. Yes, we are economically empowering our girls, but still we have to make them empowered to run their own economic independence. So that's a wonderful platform, and I think we have to thank all of you. Thank you so much.
Monisha, please unmute yourself.
Next, I would like to call upon our energetic leader, Executive Director, BSG, Sri Krishna Swami sir, to address the gathering. Please, sir.
Good morning to all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, because I was online throughout all our webinars, whether from WAX and WOSM. This initiative, I think we formally initiated in the year 2015 with the National Coordinator for STBs at the national headquarters. And the first seminar was conducted at National Youth Complex, Gatpuri, where I think including Priya ma'am from Barani Park and a big number of participants were there. And later the programs could not be taken up to that effective level. So the initiative is to see all the three areas, because violence is not only that physical violence, but the other two, the emotional and others also to be addressed. For that, educating people is more important. Advocacy program should start at our unit level. We should tell our boys and girls equally that what normally the words they should not use. Even bullying in our campuses, it's like speaking on our physical size or our physical difficulties, all these act or contribute to the violence. At the same time, at families also, sometimes we learn very lately what we were doing wrongly. A husband telling to a wife who has lost her mother that if you are behaving like this to my mother, if your mother was alive, did you do so? That may be a sentence, but that also hurts the feeling of the woman. So this is another form of violence. At the same time, we should also think of the advocacy by the WOSM now, which speak for he, for she. So it says that the community as a whole, we all have responsibilities first towards ourselves, because we are out of the womb of a mother. Because of her, we are in this world. So if we have to act, let us think of our mother, our sisters, and all those who are with us, because of whom we are here. So the advocacy has to be a dedication to the motherhood. So instead of just taking it as a activism, activism means you don't act, you simply put posters, you simply speak and get away. That cannot be empowering people. And the question which came, SDGs and how it is connected. You get into any part of SDGs, we are part of it. The nourishment, well-being, good health, all these SDGs, if we empower our families, so we will be in a community where we'll be achieving the SDGs. So I thank the team of the WAX program at national headquarters and all the coordinators for giving me an opportunity to speak to you from home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring and useful words. We know we can't stop every act of violence, every act of evil in the world. But maybe we could try to stop one act of evil, one act of violence. Here is the glimpse of the video on the Stop the Violence campaign done by our scouts, guides, rovers and rangers, unit leaders and members of BSG all over India. Hope this video represents our servitude towards our society and community and inspires you as well. Enjoy. Arise awake and stop not until the goal is reached. Famous words by Swami Vivekananda. Now, I request our Honorable Director of the Bharat Scouts and Guides, Mr. Rajkumar Kaushik Sir, to address the gathering with the final note.
Thank you very much, Krishna, for inviting me. And congratulations to our guiding for organizing very important webinar in regard to the Stop the Violence. So, and respected Rajya Madam, Geeta Madam, and Kavita Ma'am, and all my colleagues. Definitely, if you see the definition given for the violence by the WHO, WHO clearly speaks that the intentional use of the physical force or the power or the threat against oneself or another person or against a group or community is a violence. And the violence is always, there are many things. Mainly, if you will go to the actual position, there are two types of violence. One is physical and another one is psychological. It may be happen with the child, it may happen with woman, it may be happen with even man or the boy or even the adults in the house or even with the society. It may be a religious violence also, it may be industrial violence also, means the working place, and it may happen with anyone. It is not only for the women. The violence is always used only to fulfill our ego or the selfishness or the power what we have with us. Then only violence comes. Because violence is always in between two people, that is, one is powerful and one is weak. If both are powerful men, the violence will be with both of them. It is not only one-sided. Same way, definitely India has suffered a lot in regard to the violence against the woman, as well as the violence against the child also. So many child abuse cases are there. Suffering, but at the same time, the men are also suffering. Also, always the lady name comes first. Whether it is with Ram, so we also always say Sita Ram. Means man is nothing without a woman. But in spite of that, because of only the ego of a certain people, if you see the domestic violence,
Low, sir. I think your network bandwidth is low. We couldn't hear you, sir.
in Indian, we used to say,
now I think my voice is coming.
Yes, sir. You're audible now, sir.
Right.
Coming?
If you see the domestic violence is mostly in between the women only. If we will compare it, all the cases, what has been registered during the previous years, not now. Only the violence was in between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. Same way, if you go to the working place also, there are many cases where the violence has been done with women as well as with men also. Same thing. And in India, always the lady has been given a very big respect. Even with the name of the man, before lady name only used to come, whether it related to our God. If you see, we never say Ram, we always called Sita Ram. For Kishan, Radha Kishan. Without Radha, there is no Kishan. Without Sita, there is no Ram. So we have to give respect definitely to the woman, and it will happen only when our ego, our power has to be controlled, because main reason of the violence is always the ego, selfishness, and the power what we had. If these things will be kept in control, definitely there will be no violence. So, dear Rover Rangers, when we are working in the field, so before going to field, first we have to control ourselves. Because as I told, there are two types of violence. One is physical and one is psychological. The person who is powerful by physique or by money or by property, poverty you can say. So these two types of people only used to have the violence.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, your voice is not audible. Sir, kindly unmute your mic, sir.
सर अनम्यूट कीजिए. सर म्यूट हो गया सर.
Okay, now I think it is now. Voice is there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, the call came, that's why it was disconnected. So first we have to control our ego, then only we can do, and the charity begins from home. First of all, we have to change our own attitude, our own character. How the psychological violence comes. You see, if a boy or a girl, whether they are brother or sister, if they are going in a bike on a road, if the person who do not know who they are, they always think, oh, acha, देखो लड़की को लेके साइकिल पे घूम रहा है. If one girl is talking with a boy, always we people are creating problems. Why you are talking with that boy? Even if you remember previously in our events also, we used to control. We are not allowing the girls to talk with the boys. That is also a violence actually. So there are so many things which, unless otherwise we will control ourselves, we will change our attitude, we will change our character, we cannot change the community. So first we have to change ourselves. We have to change our mind, our mean-minded thoughts. Then only we can work for all the violences to stop it in the community. As for today's topic, that violence against the woman, we have to stop it. There is no doubt in it. And it will happen only when we will control our ego. And also, we will not allow any other person to do it. So, dear Rangers, definitely, as Swamiji also told that in 2015, the first Stop the Violence workshop was conducted at NYC Kasturi. And unfortunately, I was in charge of that event. And really, we felt that there are a lot of work has to be done. And even as there were questions also that what is the relation between the SDG and this project? So there are so many things. If you see, even the gender balance, if that is also there, that definitely there will be an improvement and we can stop. But only main thing is, unless otherwise the ego is controlled, our selfishness is controlled, we cannot achieve our target. So we have to control our ego, and then we have to go to the community and inform what type of violences are there, psychological or physical, so that our ninth part of the law, that is pure in thought, word, and deed. We are telling so many things, but we ourselves are not following it. So definitely charity, as I told, charity begins from home. So first we have to control ourselves in our ego, and we have to work from our heart. We have to respect the woman from our heart, not only by mouth. Then only we can stop the violence against the woman. So all of you have to do what best we can do to see that from India we can remove such word as violence, and we can do it because we are having a devotion and dedication towards women, because we are giving full respect to them. So, dear Rangers, go ahead and see that what our Chamtia and Nepali has informed us, what Jyoti Madam has told about the violences, different type of violences. So we people can stop it first from us, then from the community. So once again, congratulations to GuideWing for organizing such a nice webinar. And I hope what project we have started in 2015 will be started again, and not only against the woman, but as well as against the domestic violence, against the child, against the adult. Thank you very much once again for giving me chance. And thanks to Rajia Madam for sparing your time. I must give my thanks on the behalf of our Chief National Commissioner, Dr. K.K. Khandelwal, to all of you, and especially to Chamtia and Nepali for coming over to this webinar. And we hope that in future also you will help the BSG to organize such type of webinars, and you will give your valuable information to our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring and provocative words. To all the participants in the audience, a small note. Please don't forget to share your feedback. The feedback link is given below in the chat box. You can check it out later. And also don't forget to subscribe YouTube channel BSG India and share our videos to the maximum. Thank you. Moving on to the event. And it's time to stop and thank the people who make a difference in our lives. Through this special event, we surely felt a difference within us. Now, I would like to call upon our respected Assistant Director, Southern Region, Bharat Scouts and Guides, Srimati Kumut Mehra ma'am, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Monisha. I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Good afternoon to everyone. Namaste, sabhi ko. We have reached the end of today's event for her world talk show, Stop the Violence. It's my great privilege to propose a vote of thanks. I, on behalf of Bharat Scouts and Guides India, extend a hearty thanks to our guests for inspiring our participants and sharing words of wisdom and encouragement. Honorable Vice President, Bharat Scouts and Guides India, State Commissioner Guide Karnataka, Srimati Geeta Nataraj, Madam. Thank you, Madam, for joining us. National Headquarter Commissioner, Public Relations, Honorable Ms. Razia Begum, Madam. Thank you, Madam, for joining us. Thank you. I express my sincere thanks to WACS Speaker, Ms. Chamatya Fernando from Sri Lanka, Ms. Nefeli from Greece, STV Global Facilitator for demonstrating and exposing us to the Stop the Violence initiative. Without doubt, these insights would have created awareness and inspired you to take action. Thank you for taking time for your busy schedule to being here with us today. Thank you, Madam, especially Chamatya, Madam. In this difficult condition, she joined, she took session. Thank you, Madam. We all will pray for your fast recovery. Thank you. I thanks to Sri Manish Mehta, sir, National Commissioner Coordination, for joining us, sir. Thank you. We would like to extend heartfelt thanks to our Director, Bharat Scouts and Guides. He always support and guide us to organize this type of event. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our respected Executive Director, Krishna Swami, sir, for joining us. Thank you. I would like to thank our Joint Director Guide, Darshana Pavaskar, Madam, Joint Director Scout, Amarvi Chetri, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank all the Deputy Director, all the Assistant Director, all the ROCs of the region. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the team members of Stop the Violence, expert STV, Mr. Satyajit Chatterjee, Himalaya Woodwedge Rover from Karnataka, Mrs. Jyoti Mahatma, DOC Guide from Rajasthan, Ms. Priya, expert STV from Tamil Nadu. Thank you all. Thank you. Today's MC Master of Ceremony, you have done wonderful job. Ms. Monisha Priyanka from Southern Railway, Rajya Puraskar Ranger, Ms. Sweta Saraswati from Tamil Nadu, Rajya Puraskar Ranger. Thank you. I would like to thank technical team, those who have helped us make this program grand success. Mr. Dhanraj, Office Secretary, Western Region, Mr. Kapil Rajak, Eastern Region, Yes Palji from National Headquarters, Saran Raj, Media Coordinator, Southern Region. Thank you all. Finally, I would take this opportunity to take our participants for the enthusiastic involvement in our talk show series. It was a great pleasure in hosting you all, and we hope see more participation from you for our next webinar on 10th November at 10 a.m. Leadership Mindset. Thank you one and all who's directly and indirectly supported to make this webinar successfully. Thank you one and all. Thank you to Almighty for blessing us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful vote of thanks. The way to stop violence, abuse, and exploitation is to break the silence. All power is within us. We can do anything and everything. And as we have come to the end of the program, now I request everyone to please rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे, गाहे तव जय गाथा। जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे, जय 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 हे।